Hello, everyone. Welcome to Frank Analysis. I'm your host, Franco. I want to talk about what is the best strategy in engaging with people who you want to raise their consciousness, or you want to inform, or you want them to see the light to certain things that are happening in this country or in other countries, the U.S.'s involvement in those other countries, just anything that you are informed about. How do you get your peers to see that who aren't there yet? I saw this video that James Corbett did. He had on a guest. Let me show you guys real quick. And I thought it was an excellent video. I really recommend it for you guys. You don't have to necessarily agree with everything that on what James Corbett believes in, but I mean, he has done a lot of good reporting. But this is a solutions focused video that he has here that he put out a couple, like 2 months ago, I would say. But yeah, communicating this info to others, Solutions Watch. And he was talking to somebody that has his area of expertise is on advising people on how to best approach others. And I took some notes on this video. You can find it on Odyssey because James Corbett's YouTube channel keeps getting suppressed by YouTube, keeps getting deleted, and he has to make a new one. I don't think you can find that video on YouTube right now. But yeah, like articulating this information is a big can of worms for a lot of people, and it can make some people really mad. And sometimes we ourselves get frustrated when other people aren't seeing what we're seeing. And it can be counterproductive when we get mad or when we try to force them to think a certain way. It can just cause them to be more resistant and be really repelled by the things that you tell them. And if they hear it somewhere else, they're like, oh man, that reminds me of that time. Maybe like subconsciously they'll be thinking that, and they'll be trying to resist that information. So yeah, how do you wake up like your friend, your spouse, your brother, sister, aunt, mom, dad, etc., whoever it is that you want to wake up? How do you do that? So some notes that I took from that video is you have to shift your goal from getting them to wake up to getting them on the same page. Just try to get them to understand your point of view so that they do not think you are forcing them to think a certain way, right? Just be like, hey, like, here's a point of view, like, right? Does that make sense? Like, just tell them and then ask them, like, does that make sense? Like, do you understand that point of view? But if you tell them, no, that's not how it is, it's this way, blah, 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 and especially if you're going to be throwing insults at them, it's going to be so counterproductive. But yeah, people don't like feeling forced. You can attest to that too. Like it's in our human nature. We don't like feeling forced. So the natural response oftentimes is to resist, and that may further enforce a certain way that they think. Like they want to stay in their comfort zone. They don't want to move out of their comfort zone and come to certain realizations that make them uncomfortable. The truth can be uncomfortable, and you guys have probably experienced that before when something that you thought was true was all a lie and it made you angry, or maybe at first you refused to believe it. You also want to find an entry point, right? There's a lot of things that we are aware of now, like how there's money in politics, the reason why we're in all these wars. If you're informed about the Great Reset, the truth about these grifter politicians like AOC and the rest of the squad, the truth about the Democratic Party, like all these things, right? There's so many things that we can talk to somebody about. Or if you have right-wing relatives, like there's so many issues that you could talk to them about that you know more than they do about than they do. So you have to find this entry point, right? Something that matters to them most. And then once you find it, you have to approach it to them gently. Don't make them think that you are condescending them. Make them feel like they can trust you, right? Don't make them feel like you're an enemy. Don't make them feel like, oh, like I'm debating you and trying to get points off of them just because you know more than them. You're not going to win anybody over that way. But yeah, like with finding this entry point, I mean, we live in a culture that makes people feel victimized, rightfully so in many cases. So try to find something that makes them feel like a victim in this society. Like, are they inundated with all of this medical debt? Are they inundated with all this student loan debt? Um, there's so many things you can find. Are they a refugee from somewhere? You have to be prepared, and you have to know what you are talking about, right? You also have to not be afraid to talk about what you will talk about, but also not make them feel stupid. Just show that you care in a non-threatening way. Because if you don't know enough about a topic, you could just like say something that like it's just coming out your ass, or it's giving them the wrong information, and if they find out, that's you're giving them some ammo, and then that could be counterproductive. So you have to find something where you are really passionate about, really know a lot about, where there's like no way that you could be wrong about, or almost no way you could be wrong about. But yeah, when you introduce these topics to them, don't treat it like a debate. At first, when you come to them, just be like, "Hey, like here's a perspective. Like there's this perspective." So that way they don't feel like you are trying to own that perspective initially, and then depending on their response, you can proceed accordingly. Like at first, don't be like, "Oh, like I own this perspective." Just be like, "Hey, there's this perspective here. Have you heard of it before? What are your thoughts on that?" And then yeah, depending on their response, you can tell them, I feel this way, or blah 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 blah. Again, don't treat it like a debate. Don't try to win points. You aren't fighting them. Don't make them feel like you're fighting them. You are trying to work with them. You're trying to gain their trust. You want them to perceive you as an ally, as a friend, someone who actually cares about them. And I know that at the root of it, you do care about them, but you want to make them see that you care about them. Make sure you are actually listening to them. So that's another way you can get them to see that you care, is that you are actually listening to them and not just like, oh, no, 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 it's all just you talking and it's just you preaching to them. Listen to them. Ask them questions. Don't be a preacher. And don't be like that. A lot of people immediately dismiss, these Jehovah's Witnesses or other people that just bombard them with a bunch of information that like they could perceive you as a conspiracy theorist or something, and then not take anything you say seriously. If you're just if all you if you only, you're the only one talking, right? Take your time, listen to them, make them feel important. Another thing I learned here from this video: learn when to let things go. All right, know what kind of relationship you want with this person. Like if you keep going, are they gonna feel annoyed? Are they not going to want to associate with you if you just keep going with this? For some people, they may be more sensitive than others about a certain issue, and there's just no way that they're going to change their position. And so you're going to have to come to an understanding. You're going to have to decide whether you actually want to keep this person with the current relationship that you have with them, or you're just going to move on. Like, how important are these issues for you? How important is this person for you? Are you okay with just not being as close with them anymore if they can't change on a certain issue that you're really passionate about? But prioritize. Don't prioritize mainly on changing their mind, again, because then that's coming at it in the offense, like in as trying to debate them, right? Come at it in a way where you're planting seeds, where it sticks with them subconsciously. And as they see other things in the world, they can make connections to conversations that they had with you, whether it be consciously or subconsciously. They'll have something there that makes them think more and be like, oh man, I'm starting to see things differently now. Show them the door, but don't push them through the door. Does that make sense? Just plant these seeds, show them and like, hey, like, here's some information, and then let them make the decision on whether they will proceed and look for more information on that. Don't bombard them with information. Try to force them, like, because they're going to, if they feel like you're pushing them through the door, they're going to like fight back with you. They may be afraid of what's on the other side, but if they feel like it's fully their decision that they're gonna go for themselves through that door and find more information, then it's going to be more comfortable on them and more productive to like for them to have their consciousness raised. Makes sense? But yeah, that was an excellent video by James Corbett.